Hi, this is Mark at learnhowtogarden.com, and in today's episode of the 10-Minute Gardener I'm going to be sharing with you my technique for sowing chilies. If you're not already subscribed to learnhowtogarden.com, there is a link below the film. Input your email address when you get there. That means that you get our free monthly newsletter, and it also means that every single time we put up a new film you'll get a notification telling you that there's one there waiting for you to view. Chilies. I love chilies. They're one of my favourite things. If I was going to grow just one thing for return on net capital employed, return on the amount of time you have to put into it, and what you get back, chilies are it. Because if you grow the right chilies, you only need the most small amount of sort of the chili powder you can make, or the chili oil, to transform a dish, whether it's chili oil into a puttanesca or whether it's just adding that chili powder into, you know, your basic tomato sauce. And as you can see, just looking down here, these are some of the chilies I'm going to grow this year, and there's a huge variety. And the reason I'm talking about chilies, there's one or two quirky little things that help them grow better. Also, now's the time of year to get them in. You can sow them earlier, but you really do need access to grow lights, otherwise they will elongate and fall over long before they make sort of sturdy little plants. So I tend to get mine in sort of mid to late February. Aubergines the same, and perhaps, you know, our tomatoes will come in a couple of weeks. The first and most important thing to remember with chilies is the temperature that these need. Now on these Simpson seeds it says 28 degrees. That's hot, and they do need heat, and the hotter the chili, the more heat they seem to need. Some of the Naga chilies, some of the habaneros from Trinidad, the really frighteningly warm ones, need a lot of heat, and they need up to 28 days. It can take a month for them to germinate. So when you get your chilies, if you take them out, they're quite tiny seeds. Now this is my absolute all-time favourite chili. It's the one I tell everybody to grow if you're going to grow nothing else. It's Ring of Fire from Simpson Seeds. Absolutely stunning, very, very warm, makes a beautifully fiery paprika. They're quite small, these seeds, and quite thin. And I sow them in one of two ways. My favourite way are to use these little things. These are Jiffy 7s. They are little coir pots, and the reason I like these is that once the plant has germinated in them, it can stay in this for anything up to sort of 7-8 weeks, and there's no potting on. You don't have that potting on your sort of seedlings. So I do sort of recommend you use Jiffy 7s or little coir pots. Put warm water on. The warm water will make them swell. Then take them out and let them drain for 2 or 3 hours so they're not sodden. They tend to get sodden when they're first wet. Make sure the indentation in the top is about twice as deep as your chili seed. Now this is where I do something that people think is really quite odd. I get some really fine tweezers and I make sure that that seed goes in vertically. Now you don't have to do this, but I have found over the years that by making the effort to put the seed in vertically, I get at least 30% better germination. And I suspect it's because in a month, if the seeds are just flat, they can rot off before they germinate. So it's just one of those ways when you've got a few seeds of making sure you get maximum germination. So we basically put a seed into each of these Jiffy 7s. Once the seeds popped in the Jiffy 7, I take vermiculite. Now I like vermiculite. It keeps moisture around the seed, but it drains really, really well. But even the finest vermiculite I find a bit thick, so I tend to just whack it in the top of a Magimix for a few seconds. And literally just fill the top of the Jiffy 7 with vermiculite. Then that will go in a propagator at 28 degrees. Now I'm very fortunate. I use Greenhouse Sensations digital propagators which will get to that heat and keep it there. Your average propagator won't do that. So you'll need to put them in something like the airing cupboard and keep an eye on them, because if they germinate in the airing cupboard they're going to be in the dark, and a seed that germinates in the dark will just start to elongate really, really quickly. It's searching for the light. The minute it breaks through the surface it needs light. So It's one of the reasons that I say to people, unless you're set up for growing chilies, sometimes you're better off buying them as ready-made plants from a specialist company like Simpson's. And the reason for that is they'll arrive with you at just about the right size. Admittedly, it takes away some of the fun of doing it like this, but it is a great way to do it. If you didn't want to use Jiffy 7s, the other classic way is in seed trays. Now, if you're going to sow anything in seed trays, one, unless you want a huge amount of plants, the big seed trays are too big. So I find these either quarter trays or eighth trays much better. And all you need to do is fill it with sieved compost. Now, by sieved compost, what I mean is exactly what it sounds like. Compost that's come in a bag, and then you get a small horticultural sieve, because there are far too many big pieces even in seed sowing compost. Get it level, tap it down, and then just take another tray exactly the same and gently firm it. Take your seeds, and in this case I think we'll probably use the second chili that I wouldn't be without, and this is lemon drop. Again, it's warm, but it has a really distinct lemon flavour. This is my other half's absolute fave chili. This goes in everything from her favourite sort of lemon and chili linguine to, well, it probably would go in ice cream. I've known it go into chocolate before. So lemon drop, exactly the same. I'll just show you. So you take a seed, like I say, vertically into this compost. I'll just pop all these seeds in, cover it with a very fine layer of vermiculite. The rule of thumb really is probably as deep in vermiculite as your seed. Certainly no more ever than twice as deep as the seed. And if the seed is incredibly fine, don't cover it at all. Some seed, for instance, needs light to germinate, so you wouldn't cover that at all. All these will go in, vermiculite on the top, gently sprayed with water into that propagator at 28 degrees. Keep your eye on it. It will take up to a month to germinate, and then they want to come out of the propagator onto a heat mat. Rule of thumb with any seedlings: warm bottom, cool head. Not a bad sort of thought for life, really, is it? Anyway, on that I'll leave you and say thanks a lot for watching, and that's how I sow my chili.